Okay, short and sweet. So welcome to the Archetype Akasha. So I'm going to give you a little bit of background information before we begin. So we are the premise of this whole community call is that we are going to be talking about the 53rd gene key, gate, hexagram, whatever you want to call it from whatever system, I Ching, Human Design, or gene keys. We're going to be in the energy of the 53, which in human design, we call it the gate of beginnings. In gene keys, it moves from immaturity to expansion to superabundance. And in the I Ching, it's development. And so at Unlock Your Design, we see every human being as living archetypes. And we're creating a unique library of lived wisdom to create a multi-dimensional transmission filled with the stories from people just like you. So we're gathering here to collect stories for this Akasha and to have like physical videos and posts and like written word from you all, because we have our lived experience, and that lived experience gets absorbed into Gaia and into the collective energy field as we're living and when we die. But if we never like bring our voice to speak it out and to have like that direct connection to it, then I feel like it's not doing that archetype, that energy justice, because people that are searching for it, that don't know the words to describe it, or they're like, I'm going through this and I feel like nobody else is going through it. When we have a library of such with your guys's, lived experience, stories, and personal contemplations of this, other people will find it and they could have peace with their own humanity and their own journey. Because through the Archetype Akasha, everyone can find compassion for the journey. It is through our shared stories of struggle and triumph that we empower and support each other. We find our humanity right here. And so people who are coming wherever, future, past, present, whatever, they're going to be able to find this, and they're going to be able to have peace with their humanity and their suffering or their triumph, because they know that they're not alone. And I think the biggest struggle in humanity is when we feel like we're alone in our suffering and that nobody cares and that we don't know how to get through it. When we don't have other people to be like, I was here and I'm here and this is how I got here. There's nobody to actually mentor us and teach us. So I recognize, and we recognize, Corrinda, myself, Simone, that you all have wisdom within you, whether you believe it or not. Even if you think, oh, that's not a big deal, something that may be super easy for you to move through may be really difficult for someone else. So it's important to share our strategies, our tools, the things that we've learned in our lifetime, so that others can benefit from it. Some things may come super easy to you. This may be super hard for you. Beginnings may be super hard for you. Endings may be hard for you. Being present may be hard, or it may be easy. So this is a place to be a pioneer and join us inside the Archetype Akasha so that we can change the world together from the inside out. So I am here with Corrinda, and you'll see, Corrinda, can you raise your hand? This is Corrinda. If you're not, thank you for unmuting yourself. This is Corrinda. Yes. We also have Simone Gears, and you've probably recognized her in Unlock Your Design. She was waving as well. We are all here to facilitate the conversation, but we're not teachers or any better than anyone else. We're just here to facilitate and to prompt you with different questions to help open up the conversation so that you feel comfortable and safe to share. Now, before we begin, we are recording, and this will be posted inside the Archetype Akasha. We'll post the link for the Archetype Akasha inside the chat so that you're able to know, like, where is this recording going to be. It may be on YouTube, but I'm not sure if we're going to have it public or if we're going to have it private. So if you're concerned about what your story getting out there or people hearing it, I just want to preface that this is public and people can and may and will find it. So use your own discernment for like what it is you're going to share. But I truly believe in the power of vulnerability, and that when we're able to just like authentically express ourselves, you're not here, you're here to share your wisdom and your voice and your knowing, and hopefully that will help others, and the right people will find your voice, because it's kind of like this beacon that's attracting people. Like, I don't know why I got here, and maybe it's your story that's really going to touch them, transform them, and help them, move through it. So yes, that is kind of the introduction for this. Corrinda, I would love for you to come in and kind of open the container and bring us into this current version of Archetype Akasha.
Thank you so much, Ashley, for sharing all the introductions and stuff, that I don't have to do that. Because, my 53 kind of has a difficulty with beginnings. And when I go, I feel the expansion and then I flow. So thank you so much. And thank you, Simone, also for being here. And everybody, all the faces, new ones, and the ones I already know from Unlock Your Design and the BBD. And now I feel the excitement coming again, and I love it. And well, you could be anywhere tonight or this morning or this afternoon, wherever you are, and you chose to be here. So you feel the value that I feel in sharing your wisdom. And like Ashley said, sometimes we think, oh, what do I know? Who am I? But when we share these stories, like I said, well, not everybody was in yet, but when we started doing the interviews and the conversations that come up, the topics that come up, makes me understand the energy even more. And from all these different perspectives, it just gives me expansion, literally, in the knowledge, in the way of life, in the way of being. So again, I'm so grateful that you're all here, and I hope you will all feel a call to share your piece of wisdom, and don't think it's not important. You matter, your story matters. And well, we have about 1.5 hours to share our stories. And if you would like to share your story, if you don't feel like it's hard to begin, then you can raise your hand, and you can do that by going to your screen on the right below. You have this button with reaction, and it has a smiley with a plus on it. When you click on that, you see clap hands, you see a little heart celebration, and beneath that you see raise hands. Yeah, like that. Thank you. Yay. And you can lower it as well. And I can see which one comes first. So I will call out your name when I want, or when you are able to share, I call out your name. And in the middle, we have a little pause, and we will share some other sources that you can look to dive even deeper in your 53. But before we really start opening up the floor, I would like to introduce the 53 energy. I would like to call it in and really breathe it in so we can tap into our wisdom. And I like to do that by bringing in the wisdom keepers of Rosie Aronson. She has a beautiful oracle deck. And with that, there's a little book with beautiful stories from the archetypes perspective. And we are the living archetype. So it's just another source for you to dive into if you like it. I create videos for Rosie. She does a lot of work in the Gene Keys and human design, and she's a PhD, so she has a lot of knowledge. And as I create videos for her, I created one for us tonight. So sit down, relax, breathe in, and enjoy.
True growth expands beyond its comfort zone. It is continually transcending its last level. Gene Key 53, with the shadow of immaturity, the city of superabundance, and it's the path of expansion. My wisdom story. There is always balance and simplicity amongst my people. Nature provided us with what we needed, and we never took more. We each had our roles and contributed to the community. All of us prospered. During the time of modernization, my family moved into an Arctic town to participate in a contemporary life. My husband struggled to learn the language and ways of the new culture. He couldn't find work. I had a flair for language and took advantage of the available educational programs. Soon, I found a job in a weaving shop and became the primary wage earner for our family. My husband fell into a deep depression. Alcohol made him solemn, controlling, and abusive. He forbade me for trying new things and accused me of stealing his rightful place as head of the family. I felt frightened and trapped in my marriage. Driven to break free, I ran towards change. At first, I was fickle, hopping from one opportunity to opportunity and often dropping the ball. But then I used my head, combining my traditional weaving skills and new training to launch my own clothing business. As I studied the modern world, my marketing improved and business grew. Soon, I was able to leave my husband. Determined to remain independent, I read books about the fascination wealthy moderners had for my people, our spiritual traditions, and belief in reincarnation. I created a line of high-end sacred cloaks for affluent seekers. Blessed by Intuit shamans, they were to be used in meditation and during burials to enhance the soul's chance for a favorable incarnation. The cloaks hit a chord in the market. My ambitions grew along with the size of my bank account, stress levels, and the complexity of my life. I expanded the line and started to mass produce, using artificial materials and refusing to see how I was misusing sacred traditions and taking advantage of modern people's fear of death and longing for spirit. It wasn't until I visited one of our factories in China that I discovered how poorly our workers were treated and how much garbage our factory produced. I was horrified to see how unfathomably far I'd driven from my roots. I became a lonely, greedy, and immature person. So, I sold my business and donated my money and time to support disenfranchised indigenous people, integrate authentic wisdom into the world where spirit was sorely missing, and restore the health of our home, the earth. My work is still expanding, but my life is simple and balanced. Finally, I know what true prosperity is. My gift to you. I bring the gift of expansion. There is something in your life that you've outgrown. It's time to move beyond your comfort zone. If you've been holding tightly to an opinion, identity, vision, or a worldview, it is time to let go. If you've been trying to reject a part of your past or your life, assuming it has no gift for you, it is time to embrace it. Surrender your intellect and watch everything become more simple and efficient. The mind has trouble understanding how everything is always passing away and beginning again. But the truth is that synthesis is happening all of the time. You are forever becoming whole. In the end, all that matters is expansion through the heart.
Even listening to myself makes me happy. I feel the energy. Some of us already changed our names. If you would like to do that, you can do that by the button on the right of your own little screen with the 3 dots, and it says rename. Otherwise, if you wish to share, please start with naming the placement of your 53 and the line, so other people can relate to your story, or we can recognize the energy in that planet or that line. So.
Perfect. And I just shared the deck that you can purchase on Amazon if you're interested in the Wisdom Keeper. And then I am sharing Rosie's site. So that's in the chat as well. Thanks for changing your name. If you can't figure it out, it's okay. You can put it in the chat too. Or when you're going to speak, you can tell us where the 53 is in your design, whether it's human design or gene keys. If you're talking human design language, you're going to be saying what planet it's in. So for example, mine says 53.5. Mine is in my unconscious Mars. So that translates in gene keys to being my vocation or core, because that one's kind of like a double sphere. It's the core in the Venus sequence and the vocation in the Pearl sequence. So that's how you would do that. And like Corrinda said, if you do want to share or say anything or ask a question, you can raise your hand, just like Raven did. Raven, did you, before we get into things, hi, do you have a question, comment, concern, sharing? Raven is also on, and I'll post a link on our, oh, did you not mean to raise your hand?
Raven, come back. You have it in your radiance. I would love to hear it.
I'll raise my, yeah, my hand is raised. I just lowered it though. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Just because.
Later?
Now off me. No, now it's good. Now.
Okay.
Yeah. So I and Ashley and I, we had an interview on the 53. This is actually the first gene key I ever contemplated. I went to a gene keys workshop at COSM at the Chapel of Sacred Mirrors, and years and years ago, I had no idea what I was signing up for, but we were contemplating our radiance and our purpose. So it was my first gene key. So I have an affinity for this gene key, and I just loved Corrinda's email so much. Like, are you a seeker? And I was like, yes, I'm a seeker. And you've been so supportive of Seeker's Library, both of you. And that's like what I've focused on my business, Seeker's Library, is being a seeker, being a truth seeker, and understanding myself through these systems. And I just recently posted a really vulnerable share, actually yesterday, and being in business by design has helped me so much in like leaning into vulnerability. And I used to feel like it was immature to be vulnerable. And now I understand how much power is in that vulnerability. And I'm a manifester, so like I'm all about initiating, I'm all about starting things, and I love expansion. Actually finishing things is so hard. And I'm so good at like, I have like multiple projects that I've started, and I've been like calling in, well, I've been praying for the people that will help me actually complete things, and also for myself, like calling in just the focus and the strength to complete things, because that's been more of my challenge. When I first read this gene key, like years and years ago, I was so intimidated by superabundance. I was like, whoa, I don't know if I want to go that far. It was like my ego was like, wait, merging into like oneness. I forget exactly how it was described, but I remember like my ego was like, whoa, is that even possible? Yeah, so I just wanted to come on and share some of that. Thank you for hosting this container. And I love the Wisdom Keepers deck. And thank you so much, Corrinda, for that sweet video. Yeah, so if you have any questions, that's just what I wanted to share, just a little bit about me and my radiance.
Thank you so much, Raven. And I love that you brought in the vulnerability. You know, like the immaturity is the little child that is scared and it feels vulnerable. So I feel that it has something to do with that. And thank you for sharing that. Like in here, I think some other people will feel vulnerable as well of sharing right here, right now. And that's why I feel when we come together right now as a whole, you know, we should feel empowered and just share, because we are safe together. We are all human beings having living an experience of a human being. And yeah, so thank you so much for bringing that up. And I'm hoping other people want to raise their hand as well. And I see Leanne or Liana.
Before we go into Leanne, There was a couple questions in the chat. And
Okay.
then I want to respond to something that Raven said that I think is important. So first I'm going to pull up my chart just to show you where the 53 sits in the human design chart. And you can see that it comes out of the root center, and the harmonic gate, which means the gate that is just adjacent to it, or sorry, just on the other side of it, is the 42. And they're harmonic gates because when they come together, it creates this whole channel. So the 53 is all about beginnings and the 42 is about endings. If you do not have this whole channel, what might happen is you may begin a bunch of things and not be able to have the energy to complete it. So you would essentially call in other people to help with that completion. You also shouldn't have shame or, you know, any shame or guilt for not completing things. Sometimes you're supposed to be that initiator or that thing, that person that starts the thing, but doesn't necessarily finish it. So that's going to be important for you to look at in your chart. To see if you do have that harmonic gate, and then what's your relationship with the beginnings and the endings. For me, I get nervous about the beginnings because I know that it is in my imperative to just like, I have to finish. So if I say yes to something, I got to finish it. And this is format energy, which means like all of these channels right here are format energies, which means it trumps every other part of your chart. There's so much pressure in the root that makes you want to either mutate or concentrate, and it's just an intense amount of pressure here. So if you do have this whole channel, that's kind of how it gets expressed. If you do not have the 42, or if you don't have the 53 or the 42, maybe you came here and you do have the 43 but you don't have the 53, you're going to want to have to make peace with beginnings. You know, how does this, are you afraid of the endings or the death, or what's that relationship there? So if you have none of it, what that would mean is, it doesn't mean it's not, you know, you're not experiencing it. What it means is that when you come around somebody that has the 42 or the 53 defined, they are essentially conditioning you or giving their interpretation or emoting of that energy to you. And people who have open, right, the 35 I have open, you're meant to be wise about that energy, because every single person that you interact with that has that energy, that's the only way that they're expressing it. But when you have like 5 people that have the same gate and you're like, oh, they express this way, and this person expresses it that way, what you're doing is you're becoming wise about that. Just like when you have open centers are where you are going to become like wise about that. So we don't want to avoid, like for me personally, if I have an open emotional center, I don't want to avoid emotions, the truth, or confrontation. If I can be open and experience that, I can gain a lot of wisdom through any of the emotional waves. So if you have the 43 open, you're going to be able to feel into the different flavors of beginnings depending on who comes into your life. And beginnings are apparent in the whole part of the human experience. We have our birth and we have our death. And so this whole channel is bringing us through cycles to help us come to completion, whether it's in the whole scheme of life, the whole scheme of the collective, the whole scheme like of like a month or a day. We have tons of cycles. And so when you can have awareness of these cycles, it helps you see, what is the lesson? What is the pattern here? Because if we do not master or understand or learn from these cycles, we just keep repeating them. Just like Richard Rudd speaks about, if you end a relationship before it's come to its natural conclusion, you're just going to attract the same kind of relationship into your life, because your soul wants to understand and learn from this, because the 53 is all about maturation and growing and growth, right? And so it's about development. So if we're not learning from the cycles and we're like piecing out and not actually going to the full completion, we may not learn what we're meant to learn there. So we're just going to keep repeating the same old patterns. So it's beautiful to have this energy, because it's almost like life's going to bring you cycles. Like if you have this, cycles are a part of things, and it's important for you to be very aware and conscious of those cycles. So that's how I would describe that. I know somebody asked if you don't have it in your design, if you do have it, just look and see, because if you're on this call, the nature of beginnings and this initiator archetype is is important for you right now. So you're all here for a reason, and it's beautiful and perfectly aligned. So, okay.
Thank you.
Who
Then we have
who did you say was next?
Leanne.
Oh yeah, there she is.
Leanne,
Are you here?
Hello, yes, I am.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I guess I just wanted to, just listening opens up things, and I was just it's filling in gaps some more for me with what Raven was sharing. All of a sudden, it clicked a little bit more. I've been looking at 53 in my conscious sun as looking at the expansion piece, but forgetting the beginning, and seeing that it's called the Initiator was like, oh, okay, I'm a manifesting generator, and I am in the process of, I guess, my manifesting essence is, I'll say, coming online. I have the gift of initiative in my radiance, and I'm a line 1 in my culture. So I'm just really beginning to connect the dots with this initiator energy, and it's quite new, and I'm realizing that I'm on the verge of a new cycle, and I'm feeling the stress of the end of what I used to do, and on the beginning. Yeah, I can sense that my time in corporate is ending, that cycle is ending, and I'm going to be starting a new cycle, and there's this tension and stress and this understanding of how, expansion, when you stretch something, it creates tension. But when the expansion comes from the inside, then it's an expression. It's like the essence of a flower just drifts out. And just watching where I am with the transition of the old and the new, and the inside and the outside, and the manifestation. So thank you.
Thank you, Leanne, for sharing the blossoming of the expression. I love that. Awesome. Ashley, can you take down the hand? Because then, and then we've got Ninka. She's 53 wise. Go ahead, Ninka.
Can I go? Is it okay? Yes. All right. Oh, it's so nice to be here. Such a good vibe in this room. I just have a quick question, Ashley, because you have like a similar thing in your human design, and I'm not familiar with human design, but if you count in the unconscious or the conscious, but the 6 from above, what sign is that? Is that Mars?
Let me look at what you're looking at. The 6th planet, is that what you're speaking about?
Yeah, from above, like.
I just took my chart down, but let me double check. Actually, I would love to point that out because that's important. Thank you for asking that question. So what we're looking at, what I'm looking at in my chart, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 is Mercury. So what you're referring to as 6 down is Mercury. So we have the sun, we have the earth, we have the moon, we have the north node, the south node, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. And so you'll see that my 53 is in my unconscious Mars, and that in Gene Keys translates into the vocation sphere. And I will even pull up this little cheat sheet for you. If you want to screenshot it, you can. Let me get this up, and then I'll switch to this. Actually, I'll drag it in here. I created a graphic where it shows what planets are in the Gene Key sequence. So
Oh, that's good.
Pull that up for you. Thumbnail, pull it over here. Did it go? Hold on, I'm gonna screen share it instead. You're having all this cool, fun tech issue stuff. Just disappeared. There we go. Thanks for that question. I think it's important. And at Unlock Your Design, we really value bridging the gap between all these systems, because I feel like you're able to get so much from each of them. So human design kind of tells us how our energy is flowing and it works, what's defined, what's open, what we put out into the world, and where we're able to be receptive. And it doesn't want to pop up. I don't know why we're having all these issues. Difficulty at the beginning. I have the 3 in my Pearl. So that's also fun when we have difficulty in the beginning, but I'll share it when it pops up. And then if you guys want it, you can take a screenshot of it if it does want to.
Yeah, that's fine.
But did you have anything else that you wanted to share about
Anyway,
it?
yeah. I just wanted to, you said I have it in the vocation. I have it in the same place, but not in my vocation. So I don't know how that works. But anyway, for me, I got a reading with Peter Tang, and he brought that up, like age-wise. So the age that you have in a particular year also relates to a gene key, and that was new for me. I didn't know that. And so he said, yes, you're in your superabundance year now. And I was like, oh, well, I don't see that. But then I start looking it up and I start reading about it, and I thought, wow, that immaturity thing that really hit me. It was like boom. And it was also, it's a period where I say goodbye to my parents because they're very old, and so they're departing. And I was really like, oh my gosh, I'm still this girl, I'm still this kid, and I have unfinished business with them, kind of. So I need to grow up. So that was really a wake-up call, investigating in this gene key. And yeah, what's the gift again? What's the name of the gift again? Expansion, right?
Expansion, yeah.
Expansion, yeah. So it really, this gene key has really become important for me, because it kind of kicked me out of this, like, wanting to remain the child kind of thing. And yeah, it really invited me to just to feel into what would expansion be, because I think for a child it's pretty new, that you can expand, and what does that look like? How do you start? And so that's, yeah, that was a turnaround point for me, and I think it was in May or June, something like that. So yeah, the rest of this year, I'm my next birthday is the 2nd of October. I really use for, to feel into the expansion and to follow up on that. And also the superabundance is beautifully described. I think it's, oftentimes we think about abundance as money, but I really love it to be more of, like in the video Corrinda showed, more of, yeah, feeling really rich by what life has to offer in all senses, in all, in all areas. Even if it's very challenging, there can be superabundance, because you're learning so much in a period of time. So yeah, this gene key, I'm really grateful for this gene key, and I'm grateful to be here because, it's on. So I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nienke. And thank you for bringing in that the number of your age has to do with the gene key. I never knew that. So in September, I will be 47 and my life's work is 47. So, yay. Okay, I have to go into that. Thank you. Another expansion for me, more maturity.
Don't they say like you have like a golden birthday when you, like, whatever year, like I was born on the 19th of September. So my golden birthday would be when I turn 19. It's kind of like your golden birthday, all over again. Your life's work is the same as your,
okay.
Yeah, as the year that you're turning this year.
So extra celebration then.
I won't be 18 again, so that's my last word. But anyway.
No, I'm not going to be 6 again. I missed it. But my 6-year-old is so wise, I guess. So
she'll teach you.
I guess we should all return to the age we were. Like, you need to return to that age. And you said 18. Isn't that that's when we become an adult? And now you're talking about like, oh, your parents are getting, so there's a correlation there. So
I love that. Thank you so much.
Charity.
This is amazing. Thank you.
Yeah. Here's the chart that I was speaking about. This is the planets that Richard used to create the gene keys. And you'll see that the ones that are in red are your design side, and the ones that are in black are your personality side. So you can see how he kind of created the gene key sequence and how it correlates to your human design chart. Take that down. Thank you for sharing. How do you say your name again? How do you say Ninke? How do you say that?
You can say whatever you like, but it's Ninke.
Ninke. Yes.
Ninke. Yeah.
Thank you. My English.
All those Dutch names, right? Mine is easy. Thank you again, Ninka. Philippe, one of our contributors for the Archetype Akasha. I love it that you are here again. I know you just came home, and I'm sure you've got some story to share from maybe that journey that you took or something else. Oh, you're still muted. Go ahead.
Unmute. Okay, there I am. Well, I do have a little bit of a story in that I went on a trip with my partner, and we often take a summer journey. And we went, and it was kind of a wonky trip because we didn't enter it into it correctly. And both of us have the 4253 as a companionship channel in our relationship, which is the channel of cycles that we were just talking about. So we both have the 53, and we kind of, it was a good idea. There were like family members to meet and different things that just felt like, oh, okay, this will be fun. But we really didn't dive in. We didn't really take the time, me in particular, take the time to see if this is a correct beginning of this little cycle of going on this journey. I noticed this later because it was very like disjointed, and it did not feel expansive. It felt reductive, if anything. Things didn't happen. We never got to see his family because of a COVID thing. And there were all these like, just little things. Now, you know, I rode some really great waves and had some beautiful experiences regardless, but there's something about, I know this in particular with my partner, that when we enter into something correctly, it's amazing. It's just like we go on this expansive journey and things happen and we meet all the right people and we have these new experiences. And if we don't do that, it is not good. And we, you know, you still make the best of it, but it's not good. So that was a really, and it's my life's work, the 53.6. And I notice it all the time, all of the pieces of it. The shadow of immaturity is mostly like, I don't have enough to do this. Like I have an opportunity that I'm responding to, and I always think I'm unprepared. I always feel like I don't have enough. I don't have enough information. I don't have enough skills. I don't have enough whatever. And it's always nonsense. But then I hesitate and I procrastinate and I, you know, go into those things. That's the shadow aspect that I experience most. And then expansion, it just feels like, to me, when I think about it, I'm like, I don't even understand the theory of expansion because it seems like that's all there is. Like in my reality, it seems like that is what is happening on this plane. right? It's all, everything is expanding constantly. And of course there's, you know, a whole cycle, which I love too. And I actually love endings. It's one of my favorite things. I feel really fortunate that I have this whole channel, because there's nothing more exciting and interesting to me than watching something develop from the beginning to the end. Like, it just turns me on. I love it in the garden. I love it. I make theater, and it's so exciting to enter into a new project and do a production, and then follow. I get to be the person as I direct. If I'm directing or writing, I get to be the person who watches it go through the whole thing. I didn't have children, but I've watched children grow up, and it's so amazing. You know, it's so exciting. I also have had the ability to, or the experience of being around births and deaths a lot. And I think it's because this is my life's work. It's like, those cyclical things are always attracted to me. They're always coming my way. So the superabundance piece is also very exciting, in that, well, I feel like I'm talking too much. Okay, I don't want to say too much all at once.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Do you feel like your cycle is complete, or do you feel the pressure of I'm speaking too much and I'll stop before you feel
I feel like, thank you for asking that. I feel like my cycle is complete right now.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
It's always good to clarify where the come from is, like you were saying. It's super important before you begin. It's like I think Richard talks about, like the archer, the arrow. It's like you got to point, like, what are you shooting at, and what's your intention with that? And is it coming from the wounding, or is it coming from, you're going to get whatever seed you plant. It's either the arrow that you're pulling back to shoot, or it's the seed you're planting. And if you don't know what seed you're planting, you're just like, yeah, let's begin. And you grab a seed and you stick it in there. That seed is either gonna take over the whole garden, or it's going to, like, whatever seed it is, that is what is going to come out. It's going to expand. And whether it's good or bad, that's our own perception and perspective of it. But if you're more intentional about what you're planting in your garden, and you watch your garden and you water your garden and you return to that intention, then it's going to grow beautifully, and it's going to give you that fruit. And if you ignore it, it could take over your whole garden. And it's just this unconscious thing that's just taking over, and you don't really understand why. But that's why we keep getting the other cycles, because there's something inside you that says, ooh, we're overgrowing over here, and she's not even realizing it, or he's not even realizing it. Let's bring her another cycle. And it's like, oh, I do this. Where else did I do this? Oh, crap. That garden over there that I planted 5 years ago, I'm not even tending to. It's like, are you being a good steward of your garden? Because it's for you and it's for everyone. I love that you mentioned the gardening thing too.
There's also another piece which is, with all cycles, timing is the most important thing, like when to start. So sometimes, like with this journey that we just took, I think that it was the wrong timing. I think if we had gone, you know, maybe waited a couple of weeks to go, the whole thing would have been completely different. And with a garden just like that, you have to know when to put the seeds in. You know, because if you put them in the wrong time, they will never sprout, or they won't come to full fruition, or there's all these different things. So you have to know. And one of the gifts, I think, of this expansion, one of this thing about cycles, is there's a natural attention. If I let it be there, if I'm really listening, there's a natural awareness of when cycles are, when the right timing is for everything.
Yeah, I feel like it's building up the momentum. That's what came through with all the interviews. This was each time the cycles, it was building up this momentum, like a kettle on fire. And then when it goes, shh, you know, it's building up this pressure, and then boom, then the right timing, when it's there, it's perfect. But when it's not, yeah, I love that. It's a very important part. Thank you. So if you want to know more about Philippe, you can go to the Akasha or the pod of the 53, and Ashley or Simone will share the link. Yeah, because all interviews are going to be there, and you can watch them with the different lines and the different placements, and they're so awesome. I'm so lucky I have them on my own computer.
Just to clarify too, like the way that the Archetype Akasha works is like we have this public community call, and that can be found on the Archetype Akasha website that I posted. Let me get it again. So inside the chat, you're going to see Archetype Akasha website. And if you go there, we've already done the 35. So we're definitely in the beginning of this Archetype Akasha project where we're coming together to share the stories. And Corrinda interviewed 6 people when we were in the 35. So those hour-long interviews, like with Philippe and Irina, they were both interviewed for the 53. And so inside our Portals of Deconditioning door, we have all those, but it's a paid door. So to have those interviews, you have to get into that door. But the free content is on the website that you can see. And if you are not familiar with the 64 doors that Bella, Crystal, Simone, and I have created, we kind of take the gate, the gene key, the astrology, and the I Ching, and then put it into this archetype. So we call it, and if you've heard us referencing it on the call today, we call it the Initiator Archetype because it's beginnings, it's initiatory, we're initiating. And so you can go on the 64 door website as well. I'll post that in there to see that. There's a lot of resources we have for you to dig deeper into this. You don't necessarily have to buy the paid course. It's like $44, but we do have a coupon for you. But if you want to go deeper in it, then I would always recommend that because this is kind of like our magnum opus, and it just keeps expanding as we keep putting our time, effort, and energy into it. So Archetype Akasha became this other supporting factor and contributor of the 64 doors. So we created the 64 archetypes last year. The Archetype Akasha came through this year. And so this is the opportunity for people to share their stories. And Raven, who spoke very beginning, she was one of our portal guardians where we had an interview, and that's for free on the 64 Doors website. So we have lots of resources. You're never limited, and you're always super abundant, and you have access to all these different resources if you choose to. So just to clarify all that.
Yeah, if you want to find everything in one place, you go there. I'm there, and it's amazing what they've created. Everything is in there. It's awesome. Randy Lee, you are next. If you would like to share your wisdom, or you have a question or anything you'd like to share, go ahead.
Aloha, my name is Randy, and I'm joining you from Honolulu, Hawaii. So it's a bit early here, but I'm really excited to be on this call and sharing about the 53. This is in my sphere of evolution. So it's my conscious earth. I have 53.6. And this has really been my biggest teacher. My life's work is in 54.6. And I mean, the way that the greed and the immaturity work together has really, brought me to my knees in many moments of my life, to see that. And it's almost like I don't see the immaturity until that greed has shown up, and I see that cycle, and cycles and transformation is a huge part of who I am. I actually have that full channel, the 5342. The 42 is actually my purpose. So I know this channel, I know this archetype really well, and something that has really, especially as a line 6, been really powerful for me is to look at the energy at which I'm beginning something. Because I've seen in the past how when I don't take that pause, with this being that format channel, all that pressure to just get things started, if I don't actually take that pause first and tune in with that energy in the beginning, it often comes from a space of greed rather than a place of expansion, because I'm focusing on, getting something material, right? Like expanding materially, which there's nothing wrong with, but it can often come from like the seed of fear or scarcity rather than trust and surrendering to the process. And with that being in my evolution, this trust and surrender is really such a huge part of my journey. And so I've seen the power of taking that pause before beginning something. I'm also a generator in human design. And so, you know, I have this push to like initiate, to get things started. And it's like, okay, but can I pause? Can I really tune in and tap into my body and see where is this pressure coming from? Is it coming from fear and scarcity, or is it coming from trust and expansion and abundance? And I've seen the difference when I start things from that place of trust and expansion versus fear and scarcity, and literally the expansion and abundance that comes from starting something from that energy. And I noticed that when it comes from that energy of trust and expansion, it's so much easier for me when the cycle has naturally come to a close to let it go, because I see that it's served its purpose, and I'm detached, right? The 42, that gift is detachment. So I have less expectations. I'm not focusing on, okay, it has to turn out this way. I don't have an agenda behind it. And when I drop that agenda and it's really just coming from an expansion of my heart and my soul, I'm able to detach and allow it to be what it needs to be in that moment without expectation. And that's the celebration that just comes forth, you know, in the superabundance that is all around me, that is in every single moment when I can just trust, just trust.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm complete.
Cycles closed. Powerful. Thank you. Ashley, would you like to respond? Because
I love that we're starting to say I think I'm complete, because it allows us to feel into the ending of our beginning. So if anybody does speak, feel into if you feel complete, and then just say that at the end, I feel complete. Because and I think we need to celebrate our completions, because if you are a high achiever, it's really hard to celebrate those little completions, because you're like, greed, more. It has to be big. It has to be huge. And what it's doing is it's throwing off our chemistry in our brain. And our brain's like, this person's a slave driver, and I'm going to be starting things and finishing things without any kind of reward. So we have to have these kind of carrots that be like, all right, this was obviously a completion. Let's celebrate it. And it will take a lot of time and energy to get into that new form of gratitude and celebration and surrender to the ending, or else you're just going to keep frenetically, restlessly starting new things. And I think the shadow of the 53 is restlessness. Not the shadow, the dilemma, I think, is restlessness, if I'm correct. So right. I love it. And I understand my struggle as well, because I'm super restless. It's part of the codon ring of seeking. And if you were called to this chat because of the whole "Are you a seeker?" ad that we kind of put out, it's part of the codon ring of seeking. So if you have the 54, the 53, I'm going to double check what the other ones are. Codon ring of seeking: 15, 39, 52, 53, 54, and 58. These are all part of the codon ring of seeking. And you can find that on the Gene Key website. Obviously, Richard is amazing. He's a genius. There's so many resources there. And I just went into the codon ring section, and it gives you, what is this codon ring about? What are the gene keys? What amino acid? If you want to go into the body and work with serine, I would go research it and see kind of like, what food is it in? Because you may have an imbalance too of serine, and that may keep you in the shadow of any of these. So this codon ring is a great pressure codon inside human DNA. Each of the 6 gene keys within this group drives an aspect of human evolutionary movement. In the shadow frequency, this pressure creates stress and fear. In the higher frequencies, this pressure generates creativity and aspiration to rise up to a greater spiritual awakening. Together, these 6 pressures drive you to seek answers that can bring an end to the longing inside of you. All of seeking is therefore partially rooted in dissatisfaction, 58, and all seeking eventually leads you inwards. It is this turning in that unlocks the huge reservoirs of vitality that are available to you when you relax enough. As you see that all seeking is simply life looking for itself, you begin to stop seeking. As the pressure within you falls away, the vital energy becomes clearer and more radiant within you. Doesn't that like give you a little bit more ease? Like as you're reading that, it's like, oh my gosh, I don't need to do anything. It's going to happen regardless. Like Philippe said, he's like, evolution, expansion just happens, you know. And I love what Randy said too. She was like, I just do things for the expansion of my heart and my soul. If you're shooting the arrow and you're like, I want to make $1 million, like you're going to disappoint yourself. You're going to be dissatisfied because it may take longer than you think, or it may never happen. And so then you fail, and nobody likes failure. We have to make friends with that. And I think that if you were to look at this, the nature of this beginning is for the expansion of my heart and my soul. You're only responsible for you. If you make it like, I need to change the world, that's a lot of pressure on you to change the world. And you have to control a lot of people outside of yourselves to change the world. But if it was just for you, your heart, the expansion of your heart and your soul, that's all you have to not even worry about. That's all you have to lean into and surrender to. So it gives a lot less pressure, right? You're just starting things and having the intention to expand my heart and soul. And I really appreciate what you said, Philippe, and what you said, Randy, as well, when you were sharing, because I think that it really helped illuminate some things that I wasn't even looking at before. So I'm just bringing kind of that out in the open, because that kind of struck a chord in me.
For me as well was when we started, before everyone came in, I was, feeling excited, and also feeling that pressure of having to perform, or have to, like Philippe said, and the others, there is this pressure of the beginning, and not feeling that you have enough sources, or you have enough experience, or this or that. And now when hearing all these stories, I'm kind of sitting here like with ease. The pressure is release, kind of, because the expansion is happening right here, right now. And I'm sensing that so consciously for the first time. It is really in the moment itself when you surrender. Yeah, so just wanted to share that. Irina, one of our other contributors. Love to hear
Hello.
from you.
I think I need to get into it with my open throat, but yeah. So first of all, with the seeking, I resonated because I have 3 in my sequences. I have the 53 2 times, and then I have the 54 in my purpose, and I have the mountain, the 52 in my vocation. So I have a lot of seeking. Yeah, and the first thing I really resonated with Randy, and also didn't see that actually. I in my mindset work, I noticed that I have more chances to complete things because I'm also missing the 42 if I focus on the process and on like loving it and just loving the process and doing, yeah. As Randy mentioned for the heart expansion, instead of for the expectation or the outcome, but I never put it together with like the 42. That is also kind of missing for me. So every time I'm like, I'm doing that, I want to launch a program to get clients, I never get to completion of it. It's rather when I'm like, oh, I want to like kind of teach that master class because I think it's super exciting and super important for my audience, and I love this topic and I had this experience in there. Yeah, you already probably see the energy, how my own energy shifted to even talking about that. So yeah, that's something I relate to. And I also have the 53 in my attraction sphere. So how I experience that, I feel like I'm attracting situations that expand me or like that give me growth, but those situations are not always like the mega, like where you would say, oh, that's a great situation. No, it's like a situation that makes me grow. For example, I like with the immaturity, I used to be a little bit of a keyboard warrior, so to say, like discussing and how do you say, arguing a lot online about things that I'm like kind of have my strong opinion about. So, and I feel like I attracted more and more situations like that, like even like, I don't know, like arguing about like with some coaches and things where I had to learn to expand, like just as an example, to expand into more maturity of it, like what is the mature way of like accepting other people's thinking and accepting that I can't change how they think. I can only do my own thing, be an example, and that's all like I can do. So that's, for example, an example where I attracted situations in my attraction sphere with the Gene Key 53. Yeah, I feel complete.
Thank you. Like you said, Ashley, I love it.
And I like the celebration. It's in my pearl is the third line, so I need to consciously celebrate more too.
I see you smiling and radiant, so you are celebrating. And I love that you brought up like being comfortable with the uncomfortable. It's something that came up for me in the 53.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Taking risks too. We also discussed a lot in the video that I have also this urge or just this nudge, or I don't know, it's like almost like my body, everything wants to kind of do something new, something exciting, make a new experience. And so I tried a lot of things that not always turned out so well, and even like as a teenager, not always the best situations for myself, like partying or I don't know, stuff like that. But I mean, those things now looking back, I feel more like, I don't know, wise. I'm not wise, but I feel like I learned a lot from it, so to say, from all those risks.
Thank you, Irina. Would you like something to add, Ashley, or do we go to Leanne again?
Yeah,
okay.
I know Irina very well.
Yeah. Irina is with us in the BBD as well, so that's why we know her more. Leanne, you have your hand up again. I'd love to hear your voice.
I just felt called to share my experience of expansion and just my understanding, and like Brandy was saying, how it has to come from that genuine, true source of the heart. For myself, I was in the corporate oil and gas world for years, and I distinctly remember I traveled to India a couple times, and I had just a quick little month trip, and I was back in my office, and I thought, I've just got, I'll go back at Christmas. Yeah, I'll just go back for 3 weeks. I've got vacation. I'll go back at Christmas. And it was just this quiet little decision for myself. Like it just, and when I look back on it now, it was just this, it was for me. That's what I want to do. And long story short, I ended up coming across, just the steps that ended up happening were that I actually ended up coming up with a budget and realized that I was going to actually quit my job and that I was going to put my stuff in storage and whatever. And then through that, the lady that came to give me a quote on storage suggested that maybe I don't actually keep my stuff and that I sell it, that it's, probably more financially viable to just sell it and get stuff when you come back. So then I sold my stuff. So I went from, oh, I think I'm going to go back to India for 3 weeks at the end of the year, to actually quitting my job, selling my stuff, and going to India for 6 months. And now I'm in this place of 3 years later, still settling down and wanting to begin again. Like, where am I in this cycle, and what's coming next? Wanting to begin something else, because I've come back from that. It's been 3 years of searching and feeling the pressure to begin again, and realizing that I've been, given this opportunity of the isolation to actually drown out the external living for what they want. And what do I want? I'm so out of touch with what I want that I can't even create, that I can't even manifest. So when it does come from that quietest, smallest space, the expansion, I remember just watching it happen, being like, oh my God, I'm doing this now. Oh my God, this is happening now. Oh my goodness. I had no idea it was going to take on this life. And so, yeah, just feeling the restlessness and to begin something new, and yet watching the mind go, well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And having the stillness and the quiet to find out what that's going to be. And then conversely, like, I also have the 42 completing it, and feeling that it's almost as though the pressure to complete feels very similar to the pressure to begin. It's like, let's get on with it so that I know I'm going to complete something, the space of limbo. And I feel complete in my limbo. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Leanne. What is beautifully funny, cosmically funny for me is that you brought up again, like sitting in this void, in this stillness where creation happens, and also the traveling and sitting in that void in between, maybe traveling, starting new things, is a thing that really came back in the 53, when we were in the 53 and when I was with the people with the 53. So sitting in that void and that restlessness in it, but that the answer comes when you dare to sit in that void, when you trust to sit in that void. And I'm hearing you share that right now, Leanne, that is this sort of conflict or duality inside that's going on. Yeah, so thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you for seeing that and showing me that.
You're welcome.
Can I just say a quick goodbye, because I have a contemplation call now at 9. It's 9 o'clock here almost. So, but I really want to thank you, and it was beautiful again. So I'm a fan, and I will be joining.
See you next time, Nienke. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
To share a little something maybe for you to know, Nienke is from the Netherlands as well. She is in the Dutch Jinky community. So she does translating work for Richard. So that's why she said goodbye.
Yay, beautiful. Jella, I know that you actually, I sent out a bunch of questions for those of you who did register for this through our email system, and I sent a bunch of questions to help kind of get that contemplation in you churning, and Kajella actually responded back to the email with all the answers to the questions. So I wanted to see if there was anything that maybe you wanted to share with the group as you were contemplating these questions, or what stood out to you, or what do you think you'd like to add to the container?
Thank you for asking. Yeah, the word that came up for me after listening to everybody who's already spoken is, for one, the gate is in Uranus for me. So it's always a surprise. So everything that I seek comes to me as a surprise. So there's not this preparation of, am I entering it right or correct or whatever. It's more like in allowing the invitation of the surprise of what it is I thought I was seeking, and then for whatever shows up to just go down that path for a while, for as long as I need to. And there's really no pressure to end things, because I find that once I've started something new, it always keeps returning. So if I take a course, if I read a book, whatever, I put it back on the shelf, and then, 2 weeks later, 3 years later, whatever, the book, calls me and I read it again and again. So I'm always going back to go study deeper and deeper and deeper into anything that I start, knowing that it's all part of the waiting for the cycle and for the information to get embodied and to settle, and then to add another layer on top of it, or to, bring it back to the surface to relook at it again and again and again. So for me, it's just an endless, insatiable need to acquire information, to then to play with that information and the relationships that go around all those connections, and decide when do I make and break a bond, because that's my 1-3 projector stuff going on. But when it comes to information, there's no make and break the bond. It's an endless revisiting and integration that goes on. With people, it's a lot easier to go into a relationship, and when it's the relationship has fulfilled its purpose, to just let the relationship go and kind of just keep moving on. So for me, there's this real difference in looking at endings as not necessarily something so concrete, and that has to happen in a certain way at a certain time. And trying to think, on the questionnaire, yeah, I was kind of, it was unexpected that I answered it. I copied it into a Word document, and then I said, I wonder how I would answer that question. Then I just started typing, and then I dropped down to the next question. I go, what's my answer to that? Oh, well, this is how I feel about that. So it was kind of a fun, unexpected process of a break during my day, where I just kind of got into the essence of what you were trying to ask everybody to contemplate. So I kind of did it for me, and then I thought, well, I should share this, because obviously, maybe you're asking people to really share their response. So I don't know, was there a certain question that you wanted me to share a little more depth about, or?
No, there's perfect. I was about to paste them into the chat, and then I realized I couldn't just copy and paste the whole list. So I started it, and I guess I'm going to choose something here for you, because you said that it's in Uranus and it's quite unexpected for you. When it comes to you and you feel this beginnings, like, what does it feel like in your body? Like, if we bring it back to the embody, and how do you recognize beginnings or that initiating inside of you?
Oh, I think I answered it in the first question. I said that it's an endless excitement. I mean, it's just like, well, I have the 58, so I have all that vitality and joy of life anyway. So I'm always on this up, and I can't wait for the sun to come up, and I can start my day early in the morning and see what's going to show up, because it's always so surprising, and I never know what's going to happen. I mean, I can be reading an email, and all of a sudden they'll have a resource, and I'll click on the resource, and it'll take me to an article that then takes me to another article, and I go, oh my gosh, I didn't know that information. Then I would, save the article and use it as a, part of my resource library. Obviously, you can tell I do that. I mean, I'm just surrounded by information. So for me, it's just this joy of knowing that there's so much out there in the world that is available for us to learn. And then the question for me has always been, okay, I read something, I took a course, so what do I do with that information? Well, if I don't integrate it and have it make sense for me, then I've, in a sense, just explored something and let it go, or I've wasted my time. So, now I use a little more discretion, and I look at, okay, I'm really excited about this new topic, or learning more about astrology, or learning more about this, but do I have time in my calendar to add this one more project, this one more course, this one more piece of information? So I'm a little more careful about, I'm retired and I have all the time in the world. I still only have 24 hours, and I do have to sleep. So, it's a balancing act of going, I'll be inspired as much as I can during the day, and then I'll take my break, and go watch a Netflix, or, and I'll find my balance, go for a walk, put in my garden, do whatever. But I can't ever let go of the need for information and knowledge and find the wisdom and the golden nuggets and everything that crosses my path all day long, you know, and that's a surprising part. It doesn't just happen in the morning because I'm a morning person. It happens, you know, at 11 o'clock when I'm thinking, oh, I should go to bed now. And then boom, you know, some new information comes and it's so exciting. I just can't let it go. Maybe other 1-3s understand that kind of energy. Not everybody acts on it. I can't help it. It's like a magnet pulling, you know, pulling towards me that I at least have to look at. Whether I table it for later, it doesn't matter. It's just it's almost like I'm driven to receive and then sit with it and then decide, well, now what am I going to do with it? So to me, it just makes life more fun because there's never really a dull moment unless I create the dull moment by saying, okay, time out, I'm done. You know, I'm going to go have a nice, you know, espresso, put my feet up and, you know, see what's on TV, you know? So that's kind of how I do my life too, is I waited, you know, through a 30-something year career to have full reign of my time. And now that I have it, it's like, oh my gosh, I just wish I'd had this sooner, but so what? Now's now. And what can I make of the most of what I have now? Because I got what I want, what I wanted my whole life, this dream of, okay, I'm going to do all of my family, get the marriage and the kids and my career, whatever. And then I'm looking forward to this time when you know, I'm old enough to retire and just be in control of learning, going as deep as I want, whenever I want, rather than going, oh gosh, I got to go wash the floors or, you know, take the kids, you know, I'm done with that piece of my life. And now I get to do this piece. And this is so fun for me. So.
Bringing in the celebration.
Yeah.
I so recognize it. And I see in the chat just a little bit that a lot of us recognize it. So cool.
I love your share so much. And I love like some of the things you were saying, bringing in the codon ring of seeking. You even said dullness, which is the shadow of the 15, the wild woman archetype. And that's dullness, magnetism, fluorescence. It's like, if you can have this positive attitude and you're not constantly stuck in dissatisfaction and where is there more and I don't like where I'm at, and instead allow that unexpected beginning to come. And then it's like, here's the breadcrumb trail. And then you get the nuggets and it's kind of like, oh, so exciting, you know? And I think making the magic out of anything is super important, you know? And the universe is speaking to us all the time. So it's always sending us messages to help on our expansion, you know? And if we can see it, then we have awareness that we are growing and we are expanding. And I think it's just like what companies do when they're looking at their numbers. They're like, have we grown? Where's the return on investment? If we're able to have gratitude and look for the things that are going well and that are expanding us, then of course that's our little nugget of like dopamine, like, oh, this is so great. I am expanding, even in the smallest ways. I feel like or I can speak for myself, I put such big expectations and goals on myself to have like this impact because I'm a 5-1 too. It's like, but the thing that you said the most that resonates the most is like, you know, you're having that time to really discern, what do you want to begin? What do you want to put your time in? Because if you're not embodying it, then you're just wasting time and it's very superficial. So how can we embody every moment? And like, where in here is this not just like, it's a way to connect and people are giving us nuggets and brain candy, but like when we get off this in, you know, 5-10 minutes, where do we embody what we've just received? It's like, did it drop in and how are we taking this out into our lives? Because I think the embodiment part of all of this is, you know, we're here to live in the world in our body. And it's not just about what we can acquire and attain that swims around in our head. You know, we're not floating heads. We're here to live the human experience. So I really enjoy and love what you're saying. And I don't want to wait till I'm retired to experience that. And I'm like, what kind of practical steps can I take towards having more joy in the little things, you know, and the magic of life, you know?
One of the things I did, you know, through my career is I'd always, you know, after I drop off the kids at daycare or, you know, whatever school, I'd always go to leave early, and I would sit in the parking lot with an inspirational book or a journal, and I'd always allow myself, you know, a half hour or so before I entered the work world to do my spiritual work, or I'd get up at 5 o'clock in the morning before anybody else got up, and that's when I would spend an hour or two really studying the things that really interest me. So, and it was just frustrating, you know, not all, you know, to want to watch the clock, not watch the clock, but have to watch the clock because I only had so much time to have private time. But you have to steal away that time. The other thing is I let go of the conditioning that whatever you start, you have to finish. You know, that was kind of a big theme in growing up. You know, if your parents paid for a course, you had to like learn how to play that instrument and you couldn't, you know, get out of it, kind of thing. So somewhere in my own independence, you know, I learned that, you know, you don't have to finish everything. It'll come around. There's, you know, it's kind of like in the Course of Miracles. They always talk about, you know, when you're ready, you know, the teacher will show up, you know, when it's time, you'll just feel it's time. And I think I kind of embodied that thought more than, okay, do I have to really finish this? No, I can put it over here. And maybe next week I'll pick it up again. And now I'll be ready on a different level, emotionally, spiritually, and even physically, to have the energy to tack it one more time and learn even deeper, you know, the meaning that was embedded in that. And you know, the memory piece, like I can't always remember, okay, what is that gate? I mean, after 10 years, you think, oh, I should know all this stuff. It's like, no, you know, it goes into the hopper, and it's like, I need somebody to keep pulling it out for me. But it's there, you know, and let go of the frustration of not always feeling like you don't have to have the answer. You can pull up the cheat sheets. It's just like, you know, what's this? You know, what does this symbol mean? Well, if you have a cheat sheet on your wall, you know, you just look and you go, oh, wow, that's what it is. Okay. There's no pressure to feel like I got to have it all up here and I got to pull it all out just like that. You know, so I've learned to just let that piece go and just keep learning and learning. And eventually, if it's that important, if it's something that keeps repeating itself, I'll remember it. If not, why clutter my brain with all this information, you know? So I feel complete.
Thank you so much. Love it. Well, meanwhile, I invited Sakina, beautiful name. I don't know why, but she kept popping up and I felt her energy. So I invited her and yeah, okay, I'll share, she responds. So if you're ready, unmute yourself. If you're still there, yeah.
Yes, I'm here. I'm looking to get so I can see. Hi. I feel a bit nervous, but I'm just going to talk to it. And thank you for inviting me. I was thinking about it, and then you said it to me, and I was like, okay. But I feel like the energy of the initiator, I have always like taken it on and started so many things. And it's, I think also just recently learning about human design and gene keys and like writing them all down. And, oh, this explains everything. And I realized like, oh, okay, I'm starting all these things. And as like a projector, I believe like it's not really my flow. So I'm like learning like, oh, okay, like actually I am supposed to like receive and to wait to be asked. And also like someone was saying about starting and it's okay if you don't finish things. And I feel like as I finish those things, I like kind of forced it kind of with myself to finish those things. I am able to like more consciously say like, okay, like, you know I said I was going to do that. Like, I don't want that to be like of my character, but it doesn't feel good to me anymore. And I can say that now, which I'm so happy. And what else about initiating? Yeah, I feel like I have like a burst, like an idea, and I'm like, okay, I need to do this. And it's like a drive, a good energy behind it. So it's exciting for me, and I realize I do have to wait for it because I have all these interests, and I'm like, oh, like I really want to finish this thing, and then it's like on my list, and I'm trying to do it, but it's like, no, girl, like when you have the energy for it, then you can go ahead and do it. But yeah, so that is my share.
Thank you so much. I'm glad I invited you. Like I said, I didn't know why, and then you're telling me you're the projector, so you needed to be invited, right? I just love it when that happens.
That's true.
And now you get to experience to begin. You were a bit shy, but you did it. It's the expansion again, right here, right now.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
How do you feel, Ashley? We still have we are on time, but we always have, we take a little bit more time, but
yeah, I don't feel completion of the container yet, but I know that it's close. We have a few more things to share, and I noticed that Allison and Max kind of came on video, so I just wanted to invite, if you guys have anything to share, if you're just bringing your presence to the stage, I'd love to hear from you guys if you feel called. Okay.
Allison,
Max, if you want to share, you can raise your hand, and we'd love to get to you too, since you are here. No? Okay. No, are you sure? Okay, that's fine. Okay, Allison, 53.1 in your attraction.
I do. So I've been just sitting here listening and taking it all in. And what's come up a lot is and how you enter into things. I've started like so many things. I've moved since I've been an adult. I've probably moved like 20 times, and I've lived in New York, the UK, California. So like big moves, starting over, lots of different careers. I started a bunch of businesses. And until recently, I hadn't really been paying attention to how I started things. And it seems like the thing that was coming up for me as everyone was talking is sort of the immaturity in that. Like this last few months, I've been really feeling like, oh, wow, that's actually pretty immature way to go through life or go about starting things. It's this enormous pressure, just kind of almost like, just pushing me to jump off the edge all the time. And what I'm learning right now in this sort of like integration embodiment phase of all of my human design gene keys knowledge is actually listening inward and following that strategy and authority creates so much expansion internally when I've been seeking it externally. And seeking it externally actually creates contraction for me, and it feels like really immature, actually. So when I go inward and create that expansion, I create expansion by really starting things in a more correct way. And now I'm starting to notice the expansion externally. So I've been doing the inverse and realizing like, oh, I keep doing things the same way, you keep getting the same results. So now I'm trying a different way that has just been a really interesting embodied contemplation. And it's all kind of coming together in this call. It's all like pieces are just sort of starting to make sense. And I'm completing a cycle. My oldest child is about to go off to college in a few weeks. So that feels like completion of a cycle. And it's really hard for me to complete things. So I feel like I'm really celebrating this milestone of like, oh my God, I did that. Like, I started that, and I didn't actually enter into that in maybe such a mature way, such an expanded way, but I did it, and it's been amazing and great and challenging. And so yeah, celebrating completing that cycle and then entering new cycles in a new, more embodied way. So that's what I will share for now, and I'm complete. Thank you.
Thank you, Alison. And you know what it brought up for me, and I'm curious how you all feel. And when you talked about the cycles and then the immaturity, you know, expansion, maturity, I feel like every cycle starts anew. So every cycle starts at the immaturity level. Is that so, or am I understanding it wrong? How does it feel for you? I'm curious.
You're asking if it starts at the image, if it starts at...
Yeah, when we start a new cycle, so this new experience, does it always start at immaturity? I feel kind of like that it is.
Would you like me to talk into that, Corrinda?
Yeah, please do.
Yes.
So it's about getting your arrows straight. I think that's the difference between starting immaturely or perhaps not getting momentum as well, because I've got the line 2. So there's a couple of things coming up for me. First of all, I've become more expansive because I'm taking the fear out of starting something by making sure that I've closed all the doors, you know, no leaking energy before I start something. So that's one of the first things for me. And then it's the momentum, not celebrating too early and learning to just keep that energy going. And then my generator can kick in and I actually can finish it. You know, like, but sometimes the manifestor does actually want to stop, but not necessarily just a celebration for another reason. Yes, perhaps, you know, so you really got, I really have to think about that one. And I've been finding that the way that it's coming is because my line 2 is also the sacred seal, because it's in my core wound. Okay, so hello, ice cream van man. Just going to let him go past. So because I have the line 2 and it's my core wound, I also have the 17, which is the sacred seal of knowing, of omniscience. So what happens is I go into the body to see if it's right for me. So knowledge isn't knowledge until I feel it in the body. So I can find out what's optimal for me, which is something which I know that Ashley shares. And perhaps she uses it for the same purpose because she also has core wound for 53. But yeah, I've just found out when I looked on the Jovian stuff that actually the line 2, which is called Success Breeds Success, and it's about momentum, is exalted in the moon and in detriment in the Mars, which is really curious because I've got my core wound in my design Mars, but then it points me to my attraction. I kind of know both of the detriment and the exaltation. I've lived it. And with regards to starting cycles, I've got Chiron in the 42. So I start a lot of things and then I kind of look for the patterns and, you know, and they don't all get finished and it's okay. And it kind of heals me to kind of roll that way, looking for the patterns, maybe because I've got the 32 in Uranus as well, which is the opposite of 42. So I'm able to kind of spot the patterns. I think that's what it means. I feel complete now. Thanks, Corrinda.
Thank you so much for sharing that, because I think I needed to hear that. I have the 42 Chiron as well, and I got it retrograde in my personality and in my design, and I have the 32. So thank you for answering my question.
Perfect. Well, we are getting close. Well, we are a little bit past the hour-and-a-half mark, and I want to respect your time. I don't have the 42 in detriment, so I know how to cut and close. And not saying that you don't, Corrinda, but I have no idea how your 42 expression comes out or what you've contemplated.
I always find it hard to close. I was like, I'm going to close it. I want to close it. So
You're like, community love. Let's keep going forever. I love it though, and I love your stories. And I'm going to put in the chat. We have, if you feel like you wanted to share your story but didn't have the opportunity to, I'm putting in the chat a link to our story submission. And if you want to do a video and you want to record yourself, you can. If you want to do an audio, you can do that as well. If you want to just write it out, we have a blog that we're building for it as well, and that will go on each individual Akasha door. So this will be on the Akasha door and the Akasha website page for the 53. And then your video, your audio, or your written testimony story will go on there as well. So that's in there in the chat right now. I'll send another email out after this. If you are not already registered for this 53rd Archetype Akasha and you came on with the link because you were on Gene Keys Global or somewhere else, that's the link to get into our emailing list so that you will get the email that follows the conclusion of this call. So I can give you the questions, I can give you all these other links, and then I can tell you when the replay is going to be posted and where, and anything else that I mentioned on the call that I think maybe would be great resources. I'm going to post I'm going to post a couple other links. So the next link that I'm posting in the chat is our initiator course. So Bella, myself, Simone, we did a whole journey into the 53rd archetype, and there's a teaching, there's a bunch of other resources. You can see it if you click on there. We gave you the code 53 wisdom. If you type that in, it gives you 20% off of the course, so 20% off of $44. And if you wanted to go deeper into that, you can.
I've done a salad.
Someone speaking? Oh, wait.
New potatoes.
Yeah.
Let me mute everyone. Hold on. There. I think it was Phoebe. That's okay. So I'm just going to post my list of links, and if you want to copy it from the chat and then go look at it later, you can. There's for story admission. There's the website for the Archetype Akasha. That is free. The 64 Doors website is free. Tons of resources, all the 64 archetypes. The course is the only thing on here that is paid if you want to go and grab that and do a deeper exploration and embodiment in that. And then you can subscribe to the Archetype Akasha to see what's next. And actually, Corrinda, did you want to invite our group into where we're heading next in Archetype Akasha and just let them know the next archetype we're going to go into?
Yeah, but first I would like to share a little bit more about, because you can write a blog. But then I mentioned to Ashley, like a vlog, create a video with your story, because I can't interview everybody because, you know, I take a lot of time to prepare and to really sit with the person and to decorate the video afterwards. You know, that's just me. And it takes a lot of time, but I'd love to hear more voices for the Archetype Akasha. And I feel that we are going to build this together for the next coming year. So I would like to have it filled with as much as possible. So if you can create a video, if it's 10 minutes, 50 minutes, half an hour, I don't care. I do care, but I don't care how long it is. As long as you feel that it is not complete, just create a video as long as you like. And then you can send it to me at Corrinda@unlockyourdesign, and I can create it like the way it is created in the Archetype Akasha, you know, like with the background of the Archetype Akasha, and I can, you know, make it pretty because I'm a Virgo. And so if you feel called to do that, that you do want to share, but you didn't feel like you wanted to share in here, I invite you to do that also. So that was the first thing I really wanted to mention. And the next interviews that I will be doing is for the 59, and that will be in transit, I believe, in next week or the week afterwards, Ashley. I'm not sure. I believe it's soon, somewhere around now.
The 29 comes next, and then after that is the 59. So we call that the Playmate Archetype. I'll just put a link to the 64 door for the Playmate so that you can actually, yeah, I'm going to put the link to that. But that is actually the one that I wasn't able to complete last year. So it doesn't look like all the other pages, which is super interesting. But the 59 is the harmonic gate to my 6, and I wasn't ready to bring that through apparently.
So you can use your 53 for it.
You will use it.
Yeah, so the 59, very interesting. I have a lot of experience with it in my surroundings. So if you have it in your design, or if you know somebody that has it in its design or in its gene key profile, yeah, please fill in the form that Ashley shared a link to, or you can also email me at Corrinda@unlockyourdesign. So please feel free to reach out and to share your story. Yeah, I think that's it, Ashley. I feel complete.
I do too. I'm very, very grateful for all of you that brought your presence here today. And then those of you that shared, I think it's very important. And this is a big project that we hope that can reach a lot of people who are searching for others that are on the same path and journey, and just make it more, you know, relatable, and wherever we can touch people and wherever we can bring peace and ease and, you know, resourcefulness is super important to us. And thank you for sharing your wisdom and even bringing your energy here. Whether you spoke or not, you put it into the container, and those that watch it will receive your downloads through your presence, because you don't have to speak for your wisdom to be transferred and transmitted. So I really appreciate those of you that answered the divine calling, came here, showed up, gave us your presence and also your energy, because somebody's going to get that, receive that from you and be like, I don't understand why I'm understanding, like Corrinda says this, but I do, and nobody said it. You just transmitted it. So I really, really appreciate you all.
Yeah,
and
me too.
If you guys want to say goodbye as you're leaving, we would love to hear your voice and close the container with that, or thank you. Anything to close the container together would be beautiful. So thank you.
Thank you all so much for being here and bringing this to a completion in the next coming years. I just love this call. The energy was, even for me, I felt an ease and a surrender, and yeah, so thank you for that. That was my receiving in this call, and I want to bring gratitude to this space. I'd love to see you next time, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Beautifully.
Good night.
Beautiful to meet all of you.
Till the next time.
Till next time, Brenda.
Bye. Bye, Max. Bye, Queen.